Democrats are terrible at running just about everything. But there's one thing that they are extremely, extremely good at, and that is taking lies to craft a narrative and then pushing it through their corporate mainstream establishment media outlets to fool and trick the American people to believing things that are patently false. Now you might be asking, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the Tennessee Three. The narrative that's been spun is that the GOP in Tennessee are racist because they expelled 2 out of the 3 state representatives that were brought up on expulsion charges for staging a protest on the floor of the Tennessee State House. I'm going to prove to you that it had nothing to do with race. The Tennessee GOP expelled 2 out of the 3 because 2 did the exact same thing that the third one did not. And it has nothing to do with the melanin count of their skin. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the details that led up to this event, I'm going to give you the quick and dirty, high-level version. A bunch of Democrats organized protesters to go to the Tennessee State Capitol and stage a protest for gun control, aka taking away and infringing on our Second Amendment rights. But here's the problem. Tennessee is controlled by Republicans. Democrats don't have the power to take just their forces and actually change anything. They actually have to introduce legislation and get Republicans on board. If they can't do that, then they can't pass any legislation. That's just the way that it is. But instead of doing that the right way, they decided to do it the radical leftist way because that's what they are. After staging the protest and marching into the Capitol with the sole intent of disrupting the legislative process, sound familiar? Because it did not work, 3 state representatives decided they were going to join together and, in fact, hijack the speaker's well so they could get their point across. Now, throughout this video, I'm going to show you clips so I can prove to you that race had nothing to do with Representative Pearson and Jones being expelled and Representative Johnson surviving the vote. And I want you to watch closely in this video what all 3 state representatives do. And just so you're clear, 2 of them are males and they have dark skin. One of them is a woman, an old woman, who looks like a bulldog who has white skin. In that clip, Representative Pearson and Representative Jones both held up a sign and both spoke into the megaphone. If you notice, Representative Johnson did not do either of those things. And as further proof, during the actual vote, the House GOP allowed each of these reps to stand in front for 20 minutes while they asked questions to plead their case before each individual vote was taken on whether or not they should be expelled. Now, what I want to focus on is Representative Johnson's testimony. Now, she was obstinate. She claimed that she was there standing in solidarity. Listen to this clip.
Mr. Speaker, you knew and expected that the Speaker would cut off the microphone in the well, correct?
Representative Johnson.
As he cuts off our microphones a lot, I thought that was possible, yes.
Representative Bolso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And is that why you and your colleagues brought a megaphone to the well?
Representative Johnson.
Is this resolution about my colleagues or is this about me?
Representative Bolso.
Are you the person who brought the bullhorn into the chamber?
Representative Johnson.
Thank you so much for that question. I am so happy you asked that. I absolutely did not. A lot of you folks passed a lot of gossip around about where that megaphone came from, and let's just talk about it right now.
Representative Johnson, did you hold up a sign?
Representative Johnson.
No, I did not.
Representative Jernigan.
Did you pound the table?
Representative Johnson.
No, I did not.
Representative Jernigan.
Did you yell?
Representative Johnson.
No, sir.
She can't be held responsible. Representative can't be held responsible for the conduct of another member. You can only vote based on what she did. The record thus far simply proves that Representative Johnson walked from there to there. And you want to expel her?
So here's the thing that's most ironic. Representative Johnson, for all intents and purposes, threw both Representatives Pearson and Jones under the bus by saying, no, they did it, not me. I didn't give them the megaphone. I didn't speak in the megaphone. I didn't hold up a sign. I didn't yell and I didn't chant. That's what she admits. Now, personally, the simple fact that she stood up there knowing full well that what she was doing was against the House rules and that it could lead to her expulsion, I think she should have been voted out. But she made a compelling enough argument, 100%. Had nothing to do with her skin color. It's because she never grabbed the megaphone, she never pounded on the podium, and she never held the sign. It's that plain and obvious. The thing that's most frustrating to me as a proud Republican is that this happens time and time again. The Democrats are able to take a lie, create a narrative, spin it out to the masses, to the media, to all of the people that don't do independent research, that don't find alternative sources of media to consume their news, and convince them of a lie. If you've watched any of the primetime news shows, you've probably been told that the narrative is Republicans in Tennessee ousted 2 black Democrats and a white Democrat was not ousted. That's the narrative. Republicans could have dispelled this easily. Hold a huge press conference, show them exactly what the video shows, it would be done and over with. But that's not what they've done. They're terrible at messaging. That's one of my biggest gripes about most Republicans is they are terrible at taking the narrative and forcing it out first before the Democrats do it. Now, the Democrats love this. They're using it to fundraise. Vice President Kamala Harris went to Nashville, even though she didn't go to where the actual children were killed. She decided, yep, I'm going to clear my calendar so I can go and stand with 2 of the Democrats that got expelled, even though they clearly broke the House rules in their speech saying, we are going to occupy this space. That was a verbatim, occupy the space so you will listen to us. There's another point that I need to bring up as well. I've seen some people that are on the right become sympathetic to the point that these are elected representatives, that they were sent there by the people to represent their legislative districts, and that it is kind of bogus that Republicans would remove them from power because they decided to exercise their First Amendment right. But here's the thing. While you are sent there to be the voice of the people in your legislative district, you are not sent there to be able to disrupt the actual business of the legislative body. There is no one legislative district that is more important than the others, that they should be able to use force to stop business from being conducted. That's just the simple truth. It would be chaos. Nothing would get done. Now, I know that that does sound appealing depending on the state that you live in. If these legislators can't pass any more bills, I know in Minnesota that would probably be the best thing if the entire legislative session could just stop because there's so many terrible bills coming out of the Minnesota House and Senate. But in a civil society, the thing that you can never do is use your power and have tyranny of the minority over the majority, because that's exactly what happened in this scenario. Now, you might say you're being hyperbolic. It was only a handful of minutes, like 5 minutes or whatever. But the precedent is there. If they were not punished, what would stop them from continuing to do it over and over again? Walking down there to the speaker's well and hijacking the entire legislative session, not allowing anything to progress. It would be madness, absolute chaos. if that was allowed to happen in state houses and state senates all across the country. The next time you hear someone talking about, did you hear about the Tennessee Three and how Republicans are just being racist and they're expelling the black Democrats, but not the white ones? Please show them this video. If you like the content that I make sure to hit that subscribe button. This is a newer channel. I'm really trying to grow it. It's going to help the algorithm. Please also hit that like button and of course, share it. The only way that this channel is going to grow, the only way that people are going to hear this message is if you actually share the content. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching this entire video. Thank you for liking and supporting the content that I create. Until next time, later. I'm AK Kamara, the Conservative Opinionator.